Hey guys, Kayla J here. So per usual, God has really downloaded something on my spirit that I want to share with you all, and that's teaching your kids about sex. You might think, okay, no, my child is too young, or my child's still colors. They don't need to know about sex. But in some form of reproduction, your child is asking something. So it's so important to introduce these things earlier rather than later. If you wait till your child is 16, 12, more than likely they already know about sex, and they can even maybe tell you some things of what they've heard or what they've seen or anything about sex. So it's so important to just open that line of communication earlier. And why? Like I said, because if you don't teach your child about sex, they're going to learn from somewhere, or not somewhere, but they're going to learn from the world. And the world isn't going to be as nice or as kind as you, or maybe as biblical as you. The world is going to be crude. The world is going to tell them, and that's in misconceptions and things that are not accurate, or the world is going to show them, unfortunately, and that's in pornography, which of course we know that is a true misconception of what sex is, and it's not realistic. Or they're going to show them through experiences, and unfortunately that has the power to ruin a child's life before it's time, for the rest of their lives. So that's why it's really important to get to them before the world does, and make the narrative of sex positive rather than a negative one. So a disclaimer, I'm making this video for parents, mentors, older sisters, older brothers, aunties, uncles, to share with the child in your life. But I will advise, if you are not that child's parent or guardian, please get permission to share sex or to have that conversation about sex with that child from their parents first, because that parent does reserve the right to, of course, have that first talk with their child. So please get permission first if you're not that parent. Also, you might be thinking, okay, what makes me qualified? No, I don't have kids yet, but I am an elementary school teacher. And like I said, if you think your child is not talking about sex, they are. Or your child might be listening, and trust me, your child has some questions because of the things that they've heard. And now they're wondering. And now they're thinking, okay, well, I know, mommy, every time this show comes on and this scene comes on with people kissing and stuff, mommy always covers my eyes or tells me to go into the room. They have some type of inkling of, okay, I don't know what it is, but adults clam up when we see it on TV, or everybody gets awkward when it comes up. So that just brings about a curiosity. Of course, when we were younger, your mom told you not to touch the stove. What do you want to do? Everybody's telling me not to touch the stove. I'm going to touch the stove. And that's exactly what it is about sex. Everybody's saying, don't do it. Just don't even think about it. Of course you're going to think about it. Of course you're going to, okay, what is it? I want to do it. Everybody else is doing it. So it's important to have those conversations to prevent that, to prevent them from going out and wanting to experience because you wouldn't even talk to them about it. So let's just take it back. Sex is something that God has created. So just breathe. Sex is something that is good, is that God put on this earth for us to experience, for us to enjoy, but he put it on this earth for it to be in a container, and that container, of course, is marriage. But sex has been so perverted, just like anything that God has given us. Because we're imperfect humans, we pervert things and we make things not in the way God intentionally planned for them to be. So we have made sex this terrible thing, when in its purest form, which is in a marriage bed, it's supposed to be pure and perfect because God created it. And so I think we need to take back the narrative, and we need to share these things with our children, because like I said, you all, the world is going to tell them about it. But if we can get the handle on it first, then that'll produce a positive narrative, and we can raise up young Christians who aren't sneaking away to go do these things, but young Christians who are actually having this dialogue with each other, and explaining the consequences of sex. There are positive and negative consequences. Teenage pregnancy, STD rate. I mean, it's no secret that it's a high rate of STDs among teenagers, among the world, the population. So these conversations are important, because if we don't have this open dialogue, then of course, like I said, people go and sneak and they do it. And you might be saying, okay, but if I have the dialogue with my child, do they think I'm giving them permission to go and have sex? No, actually, research says that because you have opened up this line of dialogue, those kids who know about sex and who have had conversations, and the talk, you all, is not just one time. The talk is over their different stages of development. Children learn different things at different times. So the talk is over years of development. Like I said, if you started the talk at 15, it's too late. It's too late. But kids are more likely to not want to go out and experience because their parents have talked to them about it and told them everything they want to know or need to know about sex. So I just have a few tips that I really want to share with you all as relates to having this talk with your children. So the first one is pray about it. Ask the Holy Spirit to come in and just give you advice on what to say to your child. You don't know the right things to say always. So just ask the Holy Spirit to come in, and the Holy Spirit will also share different things with you as relates to what your child might be going through or experiencing. That way you can best talk to them. Number two, definitely understand the best time in their development. So understanding like where they are, how their maturity level is. So of course, if your child is super immature, you might not have that explicit dialogue about sex, but of course, it's still important to tell them about sex, to explain different things, but just break it down. Use your discernment as it relates to their maturity level and what you think they can handle. Also, how your child best communicates. You want to make sure that your child is receptive of what you're saying. Number three, definitely ask your child what they know about sex. Unfortunately, you all, depending on what age you talk to them, your child might know more than you, or they might know more than what you knew when you were their age. So just ask them what they know, and that can really help you guide the conversation as it relates to, okay, so they don't really know about that, so that's might be too much for right now. Maybe we'll get to that in a few months or next year. And that can really help you guide the conversation. That way you can tell them based on what they have said, or you can answer some misconceptions based on what they have said. Number four, I would definitely encourage you all to share your biases and experiences. Of course, when I say experiences, I don't mean, well, back in 1998, me and your mama, no, like, don't share that experience, but I mean, like, if you made a mistake, or, like, when I was your age, I did this, or when I had sex for the first time, this happened. And depending on, of course, like I said, your child's development and also how comfortable you feel sharing. You don't have to share, but of course, just whatever you feel comfortable with. I think it'll really help your child to see you as you're human. You made mistakes. You were in their shoes once. Also, share your biases. I think it's important to let your child know where you stand as it relates to sex. Let them know, like, this is what I believe. I'm not forcing this on you, but this is what I believe. Again, you can't force your biases on them, because some kids, you can scare them straight. Some kids, you say, don't have sex, and it works for them. But some kids, of course, you tell them not to do it, and they're going to do the exact same thing you told them not to do. So it's just important to put it out there. If you believe that it's okay to have sex before marriage, as long as the person loves and respects you, let them know that. If you believe that it doesn't matter, as long as you have safe sex, let them know that. If you believe to wait for marriage, let them know that, and let them know that they have a choice. But that's like, tell them, I would prefer you to blankety blank. But of course, at the end of the day, it's their decision. And you have to respect that. And you just have to trust that you have guided them enough, and the Holy Spirit will guide them, because you won't be there when they're being pressured. You won't be there when they're thinking about doing it. But because you're open in these lines of communication, they'll be more prone to want to come and talk to you about it. Number five, I would definitely say, allow them to ask questions. And this will really just bridge that gap between the both of you all. the both of you, your child and you, or your younger sister and you, your niece, nephew. It'll definitely bridge that gap. And when they're 16 and you want to know everything that's going on about them, it's too late to try to open that line of communication. It's never too late with your child, but they might not be comfortable because being a teenager, you're awkward. So it's like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And it's only right, just because we all were teenagers once, and we know how awkward it was when our parents tried to have the talk with us at 16, 17, when we already knew about sex. But definitely keep that line of communication open. And like I said, the talk is not just one time. It's multiple talks around their adolescence, even their life. Number 6, pray as you end the conversation. Just pray and seal everything you all talked about. And pray a covering over your child, that when they're faced with experiences, that they feel comfortable to come to you. And I truly believe God, you have to put it in God's hand, because you really can't do anything. Like I said, you won't be there when they're being pressured. You won't be there when they're being faced with the peer pressure of, we're watching porn, come watch it with you. You won't be there. You just have to trust that they're going to make the right decision. And if they don't, you're still going to have to be there to let them know that you're not judging them. And the bonus one, I would definitely say, use the environment. So if something comes up on TV and it's a sex scene, of course, like, you might cover their eyes or you might not. It's your discernment. But I would definitely talk about it. Like, how'd you feel when we saw that sex scene at the movie theater? Some things are inevitable. You thought this was a PG-13 movie, and now it's a whole full-blown sex scene. And it's inevitable. So have that conversation with them. How'd you feel? Do you have any questions about sex? And that will truly open the line of communication, letting them know that I can come to my mom, I can come to my dad about sex. And so that is the end of my tips, but I really hope that these help you all. And it's like I said, it's just so important for us to change the narrative, because the enemy will try to creep in and take our child's innocence, take our children's innocence, and hold it over their head, make them feel bad that they're even feeling these feelings, or especially when they get into puberty. Also, you all, it's so important to tell them about what's going to happen to their body. That's a whole nother episode for a whole nother day. But explain to them, because it can be traumatic. Tell them what's going to happen to their body when they hit puberty. But it's just so important for us to take back the purity of sex from the enemy, and make it something that is what God created it to be, which is beautiful. But of course, like I said, it's in a container. And no matter what you believe, it's something that is inevitable, and something that will happen and your children will experience. But I think the best person for them to hear from is you. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope I answered any questions. I hope I helped. If you have any questions or comments, please list them below.